4:30 PM, I'll call the meeting to order. Don't have audience, Mr. White. You have anything to say? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Hushain,
Here.
Tom is absent. Roy,
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
And Nate, are you online?
We good?
Yep.
Item 4, H
Yep, we got you, Nate.
slash UTV street use requests.
So Bob called me, he was probably about 10 minutes late. I think he got off of work at 4:30 and then he was gonna be driving here, so
Oh, he's gonna be here?
he'll be here to kind of go over his ask on, opening up additional streets for ATVs, UTVs.
Okay, we can put this on hold then?
Yeah, until he gets here.
Okay. Item 5, approval of 6/14/21 public work and utility committee minutes. Gentlemen, how about chance to read it?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Discussion?
I will second.
Um,
Second.
It's already done, thank you. Any question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Acknowledged work product transmittal. Acknowledgement of water and sewer permit and application. There are several of them.
I just want to go where it's
That's just a motion to acknowledge.
Move to acknowledge.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 7, discussion on recommendation pedestrian infrastructure requirement for street reconstruction. Michael?
So at the June village board meeting, they voted to remove the sidewalks from the Crestwood Acres neighborhood reconstruction project, which were being included based on the village's subdivision code as it was written, or is written, I guess, right now. So the discussion at the board meeting focused on the need for, I guess, the dedicated, on what is the need moving forward for the pedestrian improvements in kind of the local street subdivision, projects. Historically, we had a sidewalk and trail map, which, showed which streets would be getting sidewalk in the future, which ones wouldn't be. Our arterial and collector, our thoroughfare streets would still be requirements to have a pedestrian infrastructure. But the real question was, what are the requirements, or what should the need be for the local streets? So I guess the task from the board was to, go back and redevelop some criteria that could be used for future projects and kind of provide the guidance moving forward. So again, in the past, there was a focus usually to connect schools and parks within areas that met up with the local roads. So like Ross Avenue, Schofield Avenue are, our arterial streets. So then streets that would maybe connect Ross Ave and Schofield Ave together would show up as a local road requiring sidewalk. I guess we took a stab at this on this map. So the red lines are what is designated as our collector and arterial streets, which either already have or would get sidewalk or multi-use path in the future when the street would be reconstructed. The solid blue lines are local roads that currently have sidewalk. And then the dashed lines are, I guess, kind of the thoughts on where we, at the staff level, or even looking back at old maps where there was a thought of adding sidewalk. So just
The Schofield Avenue has one side, the south side, we have a sidewalk.
correct.
Is there any thought on the north side? Because You know, before I was saying municipal centers, this side, a lot of people walk through, have it.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna move municipal center to Camp Phillips. Still, we should think about it, or you think is there a need for it?
Yeah, like I said, the code requirement right now for any arterial or collector street is upon reconstruction, it would get sidewalk on both sides or a multi-use path on one side. So I guess if we were to reconstruct this, or if the village board said we should put sidewalk on the north side of the road as well as the south side, I guess we would do that. I guess the main question right now is just what do we do with our local roads, our neighborhood streets?
Well, let's just, okay, you don't wanna talk about that, but at the same time.
Yeah.
Central Avenue is getting more difficult to be crossed from one side to other because of traffic. So I think we should give some thought to it. We can move to the next subject if you want. Yes, sir.
So, my understanding of the reason there's sidewalk only on one side, and it goes back to all those intergovernmental agreements between the town, I think originally, and Marathon County when they reconstructed Schofield Avenue for the jurisdictional transfer, doesn't it? And I think there was a sentiment to only put on one side in a lot of those places, or am I wrong?
No, it was, but at the same time, I can't remember the agreement between the town, but more than just, the land had to purchase a lot of right of way on that side
Right,
to put the sidewalk in there, because even the existing right of way just stop about maybe a foot past the sidewalk. Some area,
but
definitely.
there are some areas where I think there's more, like where you see that privacy fence for those duplexes.
That's on the north side you're talking about.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the south side I'm talking, which is already, he put them in there. So, there was some discussion, but Mark Thompson insists on it has to go only one side of it. And based on discussion he had with the plan, and they didn't agree to, I did ask for it, I said it should go because on the south side, it was always, you can see it in wintertime, it's just packed with ice practically, even after they come and clean it. So I think it's something we should think about it, just
Yeah,
not to write it off, and I'm not sure when we're gonna reconstruct the Schofield Avenue.
Yeah,
It'll be a long time.
yeah, and we can always add, sidewalk projects in that where we wanna add, I think even as part of the Schofield Ave corridor plan, we had spots where it was shown on the north side, so.
Okay, now you wanna talk about the Collector Street?
Well, the local roads, the neighborhood streets, like I said, looking at how the code reads currently, jump up to that. Any arterial or collector street, sidewalks required, yes, both sides, with the one caveat that, sidewalks could be, 5 feet wide, either a 5 foot wide sidewalk or a single 10-foot wide multi-use path. And then for some collectors, if they're in a more rural area, they could be paved wider and have a paved shoulder instead of a sidewalk, which. So I guess, the main question is on the local road, if we are changing that, how do we want to change it? I guess right now, I just had a note there that for local roads, that would say sidewalk requirements for existing streets being reconstructed will be determined based on the most recent sidewalk and trail map. So.
When I read that and reviewed it.
Yep.
My thought right away was, do we really want to be that definitive, or are we gonna paint ourselves into a corner? Do we want to add the word primarily? Be determined?
Do something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I just said that, because I just said there's all kinds of situations I started thinking about where you might decide, in this situation, even though it's not laid out on the plan, maybe you would want a sidewalk for some reason. Is there additional traffic in some area? Is there some type of a public, a school or a bus stop, or I don't know, what, I like the idea and the concept. I just didn't like the idea necessarily of having it be definitive.
Sure.
And then you forget to update sometimes too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the thing is, I think if you look at our neighbors, let's say Rothschild, when they annex all this in the street area, that was about 4,000 people and there was no sidewalk in there. But the first thing they did, they proposed to people, they didn't propose, they said, we're gonna put the sidewalk. And people decided they want to come back to the town of Weston again, which was practically impossible, that's not gonna happen. Because they can't do that, by law, you cannot accept it. So, but they told the people, you're gonna get it, I think they give it to them, they give a sidewalk in there, that was it. And we are kind of if people come and complain, we say, okay, we think about it, and we think about it, and we take it out. So, I'm not sure where we wanna be, we wanna be in the middle of the road, or not to propose it at all. Or
Yeah.
look at the subdivision and see what's the status of it is, and usually I think the newer subdivision is easier, or we can tell the developer, that's part of your plan, do it.
Yeah, and I guess that was the reason for, leaving it as just reconstructed streets too, is, new streets, that's part of the subdivision process of being created is determining what public infrastructure is being included there. I guess to Roy's point, I guess that was the goal of trying to highlight, where are our parks, where are our schools, what routes make sense for connecting, two busy roads to each other, like around Weston Elementary, say, put it all the way around there. Kennedy Park, we have sidewalk all the way around it currently. The junior high is missing sidewalk on one side here, and there's really nothing on the back side of the high school, so we wanna try to connect those to each other. Or, the city of Weston, talking with them, they seem to take everything on a project by project basis, and, the committee and the board decide that, for each project, yes, we're putting it in, no, we're not. You mentioned the Village of Rothschild, that area that got annexed, except for Alderson Street, they reconstructed Wall Street a couple of years ago. It didn't get sidewalk put back in. They pretty much have defined an area of the village that they consider to be their urban section, and then the other part of the Village of Rothschild that's outside the urban section that just isn't going to get it. So,
I think he didn't get it because the village president lived on that street.
But when you say primarily, that means you can still consider political influences to put them in or not.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'm saying that somewhat tongue in cheek, but it's true.
No, you're right, I mean,
Well, so this type of a layout, I guess, or this goes back to the philosophy that was kind of in place before we went back to a kind of a universal sidewalks going in and all reconstructions again, because we started out that way, came back to this. Now it's been kind of a seesaw, if you will, for over 10 years or more. So I think we need to, maybe the message is we still need to consider all the multimodal or non-motorized pedestrian or non-motorized transportation needs. And we did use schools and parks and shopping areas as kind of a criteria to establish where, others might be needed. So if you insert that word primarily, I think that does kind of leave that wiggle room like you're talking about. We don't have to come back to revise the ordinance every time there's a proposed change. But at least we would, maybe, we also add that, be subject to committee or board approval. Maybe that's the case in all of this stuff, I guess.
this street down the road here past, before you get to Ryan, there's a park at the end of it,
Tegan,
could be. Even yes.
Yep.
That street get only local traffic until there is a baseball game at the end, in the park. Then it is busy, very busy.
Yeah, so if you look at that, we had sidewalk being proposed in the future. If Teagan were reconstructed, there'd be sidewalk from Schofield Ave to Teagan and then even on Fife over to Bryant Street.
Okay,
So,
what about down here? That's the folder, isn't it? Not the folder, how?
which one?
The one goes to,
On Cannell?
On Cannell?
East
is it
Jelnik?
from Cannon? No,
On South Street or east-west?
just past Masker.
Yeah, Von Kennel.
Is it Von Cannon?
Yeah, with that little
There's a
park right
park
there.
in there too.
Yep, and so that one was included as well as a future, so it's this one on the screen.
Williams Park.
It's Williams Park, so,
Well, when there's a park, then people start walking.
I mean, that was the thought, is as people are going to these places, you trying to designate where they are, and even Von Kennel Street itself is kind of, is kind of a local access point to get to, Schofield Ave in that neighborhood, so.
Right.
A lot of the neighborhood does drive there and funnel to Schofield Ave or out of Schofield Ave, so. But I like the idea of putting primarily there, and then it's just a topic of conversation to come up on every project too. Either this is designated or shown on the sidewalk trail map as something that is recommended, or, it's not on there, but we think it maybe should be added. So I guess, it doesn't tie you into having to do it or not do it, but at least there's maybe a guidance document that outlines.
Well, you see, on Fuller Street, you have both sides of the street sidewalk.
Correct, so that Fuller's designated,
I think this room gonna be packed with the people.
if we put it on there.
There aren't much room in there. By the time you put the sidewalk, you're gonna be in their yard, and that's where they're gonna start and complain.
So again, that's I believe it's even listed as it's at least a collector, if not a minor arterial. So I think just with the traffic volume, we would want to put that in there.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it.
No, yeah, so I mean, that one's one where it's a little harder to,
I'm just bringing a point up. We're gonna have a political issue here when we wanna put them on the Fuller Street.
yeah,
Because the sidewalk gonna go to the people's yard, both sides of the street. So. we should care
I think,
about-
sorry to
Go
interrupt,
ahead.
I think
No, go ahead.
anywhere we put it, doesn't matter if it's a main road or a local neighborhood, there's gonna be people that are frustrated by the perceived image of losing their front yard. That's certainly what we just faced in Crestwood Acres, where for some people, it looked like it was on their front step, and some people it did not. There's gonna be streets just like Fuller where there's a lot of houses there, but there's a lot of people, myself included, that walk down that street to get to the dog park or to get to other areas around there. And so I do like the fact that with this, I guess, concept, it allows us to have a conversation with each new project and whatever. And I think that's important that we do and create that conversation, because every neighborhood's gonna be a little different. And I don't think there's gonna be a one size fits all for the entire village, so.
yeah. I mean, I don't live on Fuller Street, but I can say I drive on it almost daily, just based on where I live and trying to get to Schofield Ave, so. I mean, those are the streets where, I guess if that's one thing where you're fighting for it, right? A little bit,
It's a
it's a
busy
fight
road.
worth taking versus, say Rodney Street, and it's like, okay, I don't drive on Rodney Street ever, but the people that live there do, so.
Yeah, but you got a business in there which is, they have a heavy traffic with the truck.
Yep.
Maybe at least 3-4 of them, because the sign company has a truck. Advanced Base has a truck, and then that the styrofoam, starting the styrofoam,
Yeah,
they have a truck. I mean, it's a busy road, busy road, so I think those streets should get it. But all the new project, they should get it, because I think developers should put in there the sidewalk. Although I know they're gonna complain, They already complaining, we don't need it, I think they do.
Okay. I guess any other feedback? Other streets or anything on here, I guess, you know, Roy's recommendation of adding primarily, I think is a good one that.
I'm of the opinion, and I'm not 100% sure if Chairman Zagami touched on it, but if he did, I'll just reiterate it. For every new development that a developer is going to be putting in, we should require sidewalks and stop, or full stop. And then also those arterial, those large arterial streets that lead off into some other major residential streets, like what you said, Director Woodolski. Maybe not Rodney, but East Jelinek and East Everest, I think would be good examples of sort of that second tier that should have sidewalks.
Sure, so I guess on that one, you know, we do have East Jelinek shown as being a sidewalk road. I guess I don't have it on East Everest there, but it is on Barbican. You know, so Von Kennel would be the future, you know, sidewalk street as well. So I guess those are ones, yeah, you know, is East Everest one that we feel we should still put it on, or is it?
Well, I mean, we voted just to not do East Everest.
True, yeah, yeah, so I guess that's
Well,
that's my
Right.
last one.
Those, but that sort of situation,
Yeah, yeah, you know, even like the Sandy Lane neighborhood, we showed it on Sandy Lane going in, and then kind of Canoe Street wrapping around to Quentin out to Mock Miller Park, and then Isaiah Street kind of making a loop out there on the east side, but not going west. So I guess those would be conversations too inside those neighborhoods, if that's adequate or if there's other streets. But I guess those would be ones we take on or discuss further as we get there. You know, and even like Old Costa Lane here, I think there's, you know, it's the one-way in and out primarily for this subdivision, so again, that one doesn't have a park, but it is the one main route if anybody in there is going to be trying to access Schofield Ave. That's, you know, dealing with the traffic in and out of the neighborhood directly.
East Jelinek from where to where?
So East Jelinek from Camp Phillips out to Mesker is shown as being, I guess I could ask Nate to actually put road names on here. I forget that when I look at maps that,
Not everyone has it memorized?
not everyone has it memorized just looking at this, yeah.
Mesker, okay.
Yeah, so here's Mesker Street. So this is Von Kennel. And then, yeah, East Jelinek.
So from Mesker to municipal is okay?
I mean, I guess again, maybe that's to Roy's point that, you know, we look at that as the primarily, if we were going to be looking at this, do we say, yeah, let's close that gap and just add it there too?
Well, people are there too, I mean, you got at least 4 or 5 other places on each side of that road.
Yeah,
That's why I like the approach, having some flexibility.
East Jelinek, there's another problem in there when you get to the Camp Phillips. You can't get a left turn in there at the busy time. I mean,
yeah,
unless you want a suicide, you can do it, but other than that, that's pretty difficult. Maybe you should think about the lighting. Sure, Coney gonna like it.
okay.
That's-
Can I just ask Nate Feeney there, you made some comment about the subdivision requirement, what was that? I missed that.
Sure. Every time that a developer goes to put in a new subdivision, basically from scratch, then we should require sidewalks at that point.
Okay, and I think that's the proposal still, that it would remain,
I think we have that one on the
it
ordinance.
still remains in there.
Yeah, so that was, I guess the other part too is, Specifically, where's my highlighter? For existing streets, put this note in there, so. New streets wouldn't fall under that, exception. It'd still be under the, yes, sidewalks required on both sides.
Okay, then, I guess we could probably debate how this map should look.
Yeah.
All night,
Yes,
but
yes.
to Luis's point, or I guess, the original staff report that went back to the board relative to this item coming back here was that, I guess maybe I thought it would be logical to still connect East Everest, since the grading's been done out there, or at least it was, I don't think it's been filled in yet, but.
No.
So I think one part of this tonight would be, any action on the proposed changes to the ordinance. But then also, with respect to the recommendation to remove the sidewalks entirely from Crestwood Acres, if there was some sentiment to still suggest that some be put back in. We can revisit other areas of the map later, but I guess any second thoughts about the Crestwood Acres, that the Crestwood Acres project would be part of what you would want to address tonight as well.
Can you bring the map up for Chris?
Yeah, so this is the Crestwood neighborhood, so this is Douglas, Randy J, Rodney, Kirk, Robin, and this is East Everest.
And did we take them all out?
We did, yeah, I guess that was the ruling was,
So then we can't go back, and say, put them back in there.
well, I guess to
I know, I
keep,
got another, there was an email, he said, why did you take it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't, no matter what we do, somebody gonna be unhappy, that's all it is to it.
yeah, so to Keith's point, the staff recommendation at the time was to keep them on East Everest. But remove them from, I guess, the other ones. 'Cause it seemed logical with the Renaissance over here and the existing sidewalk network on Crest Ridge Drive to keep that connection up to Barbican, but
How is the right of way there?
it's 60 feet. I mean,
No, I mean, how did you go to the houses? Did they build it 25 feet up?
no, those ones are a little further set back.
So if we put them in there, it's not gonna affect, it's not gonna be in that living room, it's gonna be,
I mean, it'll still, anybody's gonna perceive it to be close, but, so from somebody walking on the road currently to now walking on a sidewalk, it will be about 10, 15 feet closer to their house, but still 30 feet, plus from their house. If that makes sense.
I just, as someone who lives in that neighborhood and somebody who is in favor of the sidewalks for the whole neighborhood, I think it's gonna get very confusing for people when we said, we're gonna put sidewalks everywhere because that's what the ordinance is. Then staff recommended, okay, we remove sidewalks except for this road. The village board then voted, let's get rid of all sidewalks. And now we're talking about putting the sidewalk back where we just voted to get rid of it while
Yeah.
I get government's not perfect, but this is getting very confusing for the people in that neighborhood. I think it makes complete sense to connect that sidewalk. It's kind of silly not to, but I don't know.
what's the width of the road?
It's 26 feet of pavement, asphalt.
13 feet each side?
Yep.
No curving gutter, nothing.
It's a flat shoulder, yeah.
I'm assuming that topic we would have to take up separate from this one if we wanted to say that we wanted to put that back in.
I don't think we got a lot of time, they're constructing it.
Yeah.
So we vote to take everything out, right?
Correct, yeah.
Or did-
Be pretty tough. They're gonna complain, say, you took the rest of them, what about, why do you wanna put them back?
Nate, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you get, I guess you're recommending that we connect that sidewalk, however, you were one of the people that just voted weeks ago to get rid of it. So I'm confused why there's a change of thought there.
Actually, I excused myself from the discussion
Okay.
because that would be an ethical violation for me.
Sorry about that.
All good.
Yeah, he just left the meeting.
Yep, I recall that now.
So staff recommendation is put him back or just?
Well, I guess that
Well,
wasn't,
it before the board took their action, so I guess it's
I mean,
because, go ahead.
I left it off on this map due to the board's actions, so I didn't put it on here after the board recommended, we create a sidewalk trail map, so when we went back to try to recreate a sidewalk map, I didn't put it back on there since the action at the time was to, not install sidewalks in there. Which, again, 5 years from now, if we wanted to put a sidewalk in, it would be possible. It's not impossible. I guess that wasn't the goal of this was just to try to make it so our ordinance can be modified so it matches actions taken.
It has to.
It has to, yeah. So,
We can't sit here and vote against the ordinance. Then we shouldn't have ordinance at all.
yeah,
So part of the ordinance is having this map. So I guess the question is, are we adopting the map tonight?
or recommending this version of the map, yeah.
What's your wishes?
Will you go back to that language, the sidewalk requirements for existing? So Roy, is your recommendation that it says sidewalk requirements for existing streets primarily, or being constructed primarily will be determined based on the most recent sidewalk and trail map?
That would be my recommendation, yeah. Because I feel like it gives you some flexibility in instances where you may want them where they're not laid out on the map, as we've talked about, or where they are laid out, but someone objects to it.
So,
But I still think it gives you a basis for what the future planning is and what people might expect.
Yeah, so I was putting the word primarily in between will and be, so it'd say sidewalk requirements for existing streets being reconstructed will primarily be determined based on the most recent sidewalk and trail map.
do you need me to include that as part of the motion? I move to recommend the village board approve the following revisions to the subdivision code related to the pedestrian infrastructure on reconstruction projects as shown here with the language of primarily added in that sub 9 sentence. Does that make sense?
What's the language you wrote at the bottom of this?
It's not in the bottom, it's in the,
Yeah, so I left the RFC a little blank in case people,
you go to background, it'd be the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph.
So it's something else, which is, did you?
Well, you made the motion, correct? Right?
Yes.
Do it for a second.
I'll
I will
second.
get in there. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Any discussion?
I think we had discussion already. No, I have nothing to add other than what we've already talked about.
Okay. Nate, are you with us?
Can't you, you cut out, what is the motion we're
Or you're
voting
not
on?
gonna vote on this? Well, I think you should vote. That's not the,
Is this specifically for Crestwood Acres?
No, it's for the entire village.
Okay, if it's for the entire village, then
Could you read the motion again, please?
what is the motion in its entirety?
I'm looking it up, hang on.
Oh,
Lewis suggested that the language primarily be added to subsentence 9. Sidewalks required for existing streets being reconstructed will primarily be determined.
That's the motion.
And we have it on the tape also, you can
Yep.
listen to that to make sure we got everything correct.
Yeah, so Nate, if you could see the screen, the motion was to add note 9 to the sidewalk requirements for local roads, which would state that existing streets being reconstructed will primarily be determined based on the most recent sidewalk and trail map, with then this being sidewalk and trail map.
Sam, you're gonna date that now?
Yeah, so we'll date this map as of, I think it actually was.
That is recommended to the village board.
Yeah, and that's what we recommend to the village board.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nate,
yes, I voted aye.
I have it, thank you.
All right, and then I think we got Bob in the audience here.
Hey, guys.
I've come up to the podium.
Make it formal, right?
Please, and your address for the record.
For the record, Bob Swikas, 5107 Ski Lane, Weston, Wisconsin, 54476. Got it? I can go slower. All right, so, I sent this over to Michael here, this email. Ultimately, just wondering if we can extend upon the current ATV road system. There's a perfect picture right there. You guys did great work already. I think it speaks for itself, but if you look, we're on a very rural street, dead end. All of us on that road, I would say 90% of the people on that road anyway, all own ATV, UTVs. Would definitely be value added to extend upon what already is there to go down, I don't know, another mile of road there and just extend it from where it cuts over right now to get to the, I don't know, by St. Agnes right there area, to continue it down Callan and then down Willard Caustic Ski. Like I said, very rural area. We all are owners of ATV, UTVs already. So I don't know, just open any questions you guys might have as to what your thoughts are on that.
I think your letter said everybody in that neighborhood has a ATV.
Yeah, I would say,
On there.
I was actually doing a count on it. I counted about 14 driveways, but there's 2 or 3 driveways that I've never seen anybody in, but obviously they could build down the road. So that's about how many there are, give or take. I got Onyx, I could tell you exactly property owners, but I was just going by driveways, so.
So you say about 10 households?
Yeah, probably about 10 or 12 ATVs that would be in that area, yeah. Tell you a long story, I was out in South Dakota, out in the Badlands. I'll keep it brief, but it was amazing, the community and how people abide by the traffic laws. You don't see anybody, and I don't know about Cronuet or anybody around here, but you don't see anybody abusing the ATV system. It was just neat to see how different states handle it. I wouldn't propose something for in the city, but out here in this area, I mean, I definitely see that we have the means of connecting up to it, being able to get to, local establishments, other areas, being able to connect out. My kids, as they're growing older, they're in 4-H. They're involved with, a lot of the dairy barns down the road and stuff. And it would be nice for them as they age to be able to get from one area to the other and go from I don't want to say community to community, but be able to expand upon that a little longer. Now all that said, the way the laws are currently set up, My daughter's already getting her license, so really she'll take her car before she would take an ATV. But I still think it's the idea of having that ability, so.
Any question?
Is there any other future development that's gonna happen?
On those streets, they're all pretty large lots. People tend to have their houses further back from the road. I don't know if there's,
I realize that's a tough question to answer.
I don't know unless, somebody were to buy up, a couple of the lots together. I don't necessarily see that.
They would have to buy up that end down there where Miss Costick owns all of that, or the swamp down below. I can tell you right now, there's no plans of that. I talk to Miss Costick frequently, and she owns, I think, 4 of the lots that are there. And then she also owns the swamp down below, so, which is 80 acres of swamp, so. There's nothing on the books right now, I can tell you that. And Miss Costick, I tried to poke her a little bit to say, hey, if something does happen, that is something my wife and I would be interested in keeping that area the way it is. We wouldn't want to keep advancing it, but.
So that's, you review that, Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, I still have to go to the board too.
Michael, the yellow lines,
Yeah, so the yellow lines is what, earlier this year, we had a request from the ATV club. So the yellow lines were approved, I'd say March, April of this year, maybe right before Roy and Luis both got on the committee. So there was a north part here on Callan and Zinzer, and then the southern part was to connect to the village of Cronewater. So again, these are all primarily rural roads, and meant to just help, I guess the ATV riders, have that connectivity and ability to drive from, one community to another, here in the area legally.
I personally think it's a great idea. I'd love to see much more of the village added. I think it's kind of silly there's these other neighborhoods that are also large lot zoning that come off of those yellow and red lines that could probably be added as well to be legal to drive to the trail instead of trailer a block down.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of a bigger conversation.
And I guess we've just been.
I would agree. The more, one of the things that makes Weston really attractive is the recreation opportunities, especially being in northern Wisconsin. That means ATV, snowmobiles. It doesn't seem like this would be an issue. Let's do it.
Yeah, so I was just gonna add, as a village, we've just been taking these on a case-by-case basis as people have requested, roads. We've looked at them, had Everest Metro provide any insight.
So they just riding on the street, huh?
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
Is there a speed limit or?
Yeah, it's 25 is what it's currently on the yellow, and the red is 25, so I would assume we would carry that forward as 25 miles an hour on everything. Or if it's slower, if a road was 15, that blue road, I would leave it at 25 myself.
I know the village of Cronewater, I believe they allow for it on any road that's under 35 miles an hour. Roads above that are not allowed for ATV, UTV use though.
Okay, anything else? Your wishes.
I would move to add Callan Avenue from Willard to Zinzer, Willard Lane, Caustic Lane, and Ski Lane as ATV, UTV route in the village of Weston.
Is there a
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Education, none. Item 8. Item 9, resolution ordinance, the special assessment ordinance revision. Who's doing that?
Go around quickly, yeah.
Go ahead.
So with our recent projects and our discussions we've had, on, first one for Apache Lane, we had the deferral of assessments past the 10-year window, which our assessment ordinance currently states. So I'm talking with Attorney Yeedy, he just recommended that we add in I guess that option of deferring assessments longer. So we would add this subsection 3 here, just saying pursuant to WSStat 660715, the due date of any special assessment may be deferred by the village board by resolution. And then in the instances of the deferral, the board would have to specify the conditions or events which would initiate the deferred assessment repayment, and then the length and term of the repayment. So,
I think the Apache, we did the assessment to 20 years.
correct.
Right.
The
So,
ordinance is saying 10 years.
Yep.
so
I think we
it's,
should, is this, it's just we were talking about it. We set up ordinance, then we go vote against the ordinance.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So that's why we're bringing this in so that it does meet, I guess.
well, to be clear about what Attorney said,
Sure.
the board has the ability under statute to make a deferral, whether we have it in the ordinance or not. He just suggested that we add this language with the specifics of the board can set the criteria for, how long the deferral can be made or the conditions under which the deferral can be made. So this is just making it more clear, more explicit. I think the other item with the length of deferral for us to consider is addressed in the specifics of the sewer ordinance where we require connection.
Okay,
And I guess the second part of this was in relation to the curb and gutter. So I guess just trying to clarify the language there that for new streets, 100% of street and curb and gutter construction would be assessed. And then the assessment calculation for curb gutter and pavement is on new streets. I think that's just a clarification, I guess, for myself reading it, it looked like somebody would be able to argue that if curb and gutter were to be installed, it could be assessed. The title was determination of assessment cost for new street and curb and gutter. So I guess I just thought, since we're looking at the special assessment ordinance to making one revision, this kind of helped. For me, it helps clarify.
is that item 10?
No, it's part of 9.
Okay.
So there's 2 revisions to the special assessment ordinance. One is for the deferral language, and then one is to kind of clarify that the assessing of new streets and new curb and gutter, for new streets, the street and curb and gutter costs would be assessed. I mean, we typically have the developer install that at their cost, but if somebody were to ask if they could have the village install it and then just assess them for it, I guess that's always an option out there too. But
Why are you asking for trouble?
well, I'm not asking for trouble.
You are. Anytime you assess the people, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, so I'm not,
Let the developer pay for it to get over with it, have it out of your hair.
yeah,
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what I think should be done.
so I mean, it said 100% of street and curb and gutter will be assessed. But it was under the title of new street and curb and gutter, so I thought adding that, the clarity down there would help.
And just to be clear, and on the Apache Lane,
Yeah.
it was not assessed?
Well, we don't have curb and gutter on that project,
No, okay.
and same thing.
I was trying to remember if they did anything or is it okay?
No, and same thing in Crestwood Acres, we don't have curb and gutter, although kind of looking at some of the grades, I could see us putting a traditional curb and gutter on part of Douglas Lane, just because the slope of everything is straight south to north. So being able to capture that before it spills into people's backyards and then flows through a drainage way, I think would,
It's gonna wash on the street or it's gonna go to people's yard?
well, currently it's more than likely going to just go down the street. So I guess as we do projects, the goal is to always improve a condition if we know there's an issue. So I think, strategic use of curb and gutter is good, but then, I wanted to clarify this is just for new streets so that if we do put it in, also there's not a contention that we should have assessed somebody for their 100 feet of curb that they got.
Okay,
So,
what's your wishes?
I'll make a motion to recommend the village board approve the revisions to the special assessment ordinance as presented by staff.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 10, sewer utility connection requirement.
yeah, so again, I don't know if I put the language in there. Yeah, so I just highlighted this one. So the current sewer ordinance has the, connection is required when the system fails, current system fails, sale of property, or 10 years after the property has been fronted by a main extension. So I think we've got two options. We can either just change that 10 years to 20, or leave it at 10 years and then put in the except in instances where the village board has approved deferring connection longer than 10 years. So,
I'll prefer the second one.
okay.
What's your thought?
You're saying to go to 20 years versus the
Not 20 years,
No.
just leave it for,
leave it to the board.
if they want to extend it. Maybe if we want to add to it, they cannot extend it more than 20 years.
Okay, so you're going with item, well, what do you,
Item
The
three.
second option, I
the
guess.
second item 3?
Yeah. Should have made that an A and a B.
Okay, that's the one I was in favor of also.
I think it's item 3, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's
They're both
Maybe.
item 3.
too many items,
It's the
threes.
longer one.
Oh,
I guess if you look at the ordinance currently, it's item,
That's what I was trying to clarify, 'cause
yeah. I guess I was just,
Did you made a move on that? Did you?
I'll make a motion.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move to recommend the village board, modify the
So,
item 3 to say 10 years after the property has been fronted by a main extension, except in instances where the village board has approved deferring connection longer than 10 years.
I second that.
any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I have it, thank you. Okay, item 11, staff reports, CIP project status update.
let's hit the highlights here. Still some ongoing restoration, grass growth issues by the Weston School neighborhood that we're,
Is that on South Timber or where is?
South Timber actually looks the best. Von Kennel, Arrow, Sunset, parts of Kennedy. But working with the contractor on that.
Is the seed bad seed to use or what?
They planted it and then we got that real hot, dry temperature and they never came back and watered it. And then by the time we realized they weren't watering it, because the weed growth just started and so now we had the rains and it's starting, the grass is starting to peek through, but there's still a significant amount of weeds growing in the ditches, so.
Well, then you gotta come and take care of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they asked for a pay request for restoration. I said, no,
No.
you didn't get grass to grow, so you didn't meet the requirements yet, so like I said, we're still working through that.
And that's what we promised the people here.
Yep.
There was a specific question. If the contractor doesn't do it, how you guys gonna take care of it? My response to them was, I said, we hold the last final payment until everything is taking care of it properly.
Correct.
So I think that's what we're gonna do, and he should understand that. If he doesn't understand it, he should read the spec.
Mhm.
I'm sure the spec can explain to him what he said, and
Yep.
actually, you know what? We do exactly what the spec said.
Yep, and it says, you know, you have to get grass to grow 6 inches before it's deemed, planted, I guess.
Okay? Then we do what the contract said according to the contract.
So, so otherwise that project is done for the year. Crestwood Acres, Rodney Street has water, sewer, stormwater installed. Kirk Street, they're starting storm sewer, I do believe today. And, I think they even start cutting the road on Rodney. Is that right? Okay. So, working on that, part. And then, the other ones are still just kind of in the planning stages, the municipal center project, tree clearing is supposed to start this week on that site. And
When is he gonna do that?
Let's just start Wednesday here.
yeah, Wednesday would be the when they'll be staking the lot lines and the corners, but they might be moving in, just getting some of the interior cleaned out.
Well, I thought we were gonna mark it,
We'll mark the lot lines, it sounded like it,
no, mark the trees.
yeah, along the lot lines and the corners, on the perimeter.
Right.
So they'll be happening on Wednesday.
Actually, I was talking to Mr. Dorner later on, I suggested we should save the tree if they're not in the footprint of the building and it's not gonna affect the structure. We should save them,
Mhm.
if it is a healthy tree.
Yep.
If it is not, then we can take it down less side.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I guess the Tiny Tricia lift station, sounds like Pember's ordering their materials and getting ready to start that. So once they get their materials, hopefully later this month or early August, they'd be getting started on that. And the Ryan Street Apache Lane extensions in the packet for construction contract award, so. I got nothing else to add unless you guys have any questions on those.
I don't have a question. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Nate, do you have any
Nothing.
question?
Nope, nothing.
Hey, policy discussion and
Number
recommendation.
12, I guess, is, sorry.
I'll give you an update on what's happening on the street department.
Please.
The usual, cutting grass, patching potholes. We've been having a rash of inlets falling apart. It seems like we've been out sweeping. We're finding more of them, so we're gonna be taking care of that. They were down in,
Excuse me, do you think they got hit at something?
the inlets, no, like up by the hospital on Cranberry and that, they're 20 years old. And the concrete adjusting rings are gone. So when we go and sweep, you're finding them. So I've got a list of probably about 15 of them we need to replace. It's basically pull a casting, put new rings on it, and then pour curb. So, and redo the asphalt on it. So those are on Weston. That's actually on Weston Avenue. This picture, it's on the east side of County Highway X. At the east end of the island, there's a hole there. Both of them need to have new rings put in it. So, but, we seem to have more of them this year. We're just finding more, so. The other stuff we're up to, some storm sewer work, gonna be working on Normandy. We did get your heart covered up.
Thank you.
Yes, made her. So that's painted over. You won't see that anymore. Just a typical Normandy Street, we're doing a storm sewer extension from El Segundo going south, up to Monterey. After that, we're probably gonna be looking at out by, Wassa Supply, some storm sewer inlets, putting some in front of their building. They've got huge downspouts coming off the roof. We had icing issues last year. There's a lot of utilities in there, but I talked with the guys on the crew and not too fazed by it. So that's probably our next big thing. A quick update on what's going on. The crack ceiling's 90% done, the contract work. He's got to come back. He had to start another project. The asphalt overlays are actually working on this week. They should get most of them wrapped up this week, our streets with asphalt overlays. Kramer will not get overlaid till later, till after the Apache Lane sewer work is done, or water rather. The GSP 88, it's like a commercial grade driveway sealer. We did Schofield Avenue last year out here. We did other subdivisions this year, and there was an issue down by River Pines I met with Farner and they're talking to American Asphalt on what they're gonna do to fix it. They sprayed the road. I think they got too much on the road. It was dry completely and traffic ran on it. And you can see that road was kind of cracked up. It had been crack sealed not too long before they did this, but it pulled the rubber out in places and took some of the asphalt overlay with it. And I talked to American Asphalt today because Farner, the one that sprayed this stuff, was claiming that the asphalt overlay wasn't thick enough on the road. And American Asphalt said, well, we'll take a core of it and get it tested, and I'll guarantee you that there should be an inch overlay on it. So the ball's sitting in Farner's Park right now, and basically I told them they gotta fix the mess they made, so. And they do have to go and respray some of the streets a little bit. There's places that they went and you could see it was running light. I think they were having issues with the truck. That's what I really think it was. So the GSB 88, they're gonna get that straightened out. Projects left to go, probably in August, the Eau Claire River Bridge down by the roundabout's gonna get rehabilitated. Deck repair on that. The whole east edge needs to be replaced on the deck underneath it, it's falled out. And then they're also gonna, once they're done with the deck repairs, they're gonna put the epoxy sealer back on, the two-part epoxy overlay on the areas that disturbed. What else? Ross Avenue, we don't have a date on when we're gonna be milling and paving yet from this side, east side of Camp Phillips out to Mesker. And screening topsoil, PGA's got about 1,000 yards screened so far. We had it tested for organics. They're doing a nice job. Jack Soyberg? Kurt. No, his dad actually is one running. I talked with him today and he's doing a nice blend. We're taking some samples too as we go with this, as he screens. So once it's screened, I'll have enough samples, we can send them in and actually get not just the organics in it, but we want to find out, you know, what the pH of it is, what else is it lacking. So if we go to seed stuff, we know what we're looking for fertilizer and lime on this stuff when we use it. So Barbican Avenue, they started today's Summers Construction is doing the concrete replacements off of Camp Phillips. They should have the eastbound lane, they got the eastbound lanes taken out today. They've got their dowel bars in and stuff. They'll probably be pouring tomorrow curb, and hopefully by the end of the week, the eastbound lanes will be open again to traffic to go east on the Barbican. At that point though, we'll have just one lane going westbound because they're gonna replace the westbound concrete approaches one lane at a time. As soon as they get the approaches done on that, then they're gonna start working curb and they're gonna go from west to east. They'll fix the curb first. Once they get that done, then the American can come in and mill. They can adjust their manholes and pave. And then Westview Boulevard, we've got a project bid opening Wednesday at 8 o'clock on that. Had quite a few people take bid packets. I think I sent out like 7 of them. So it's gonna be interesting to see where the pricing comes back on Westview. And that's gonna be basically concrete removal, some concrete pavement replacement, a lot of curb replacement, and then we're gonna replace, instead of having concrete throughout the length of Westview, running from Camp Phillips all the way to Sherrill Tire, it's gonna, once we get off of Camp Phillips, once we make the radiuses, that'll be concrete. After that, we're gonna pave it with asphalt. So I talked with the DOT and their recommendation is when you're coming off a highway like that, you're better off to have the concrete coming back off the radiuses because it'll just last a lot longer. So keep your fingers crossed, hopefully the prices come in cheap.
Okay, getting back to Ross Avenue, you're gonna repave the Ross Avenue, right?
From 25 feet wide,
Yeah,
just like we did last year.
Okay, you're not gonna do the bicycle path, you're just going the main driving area.
and that's from X to Mesker,
Yep.
Why Mesker, why not all the way to the bridge?
because we didn't have enough money to get all the way to the bridge this year.
We're gonna get past the intersection on Mesker though. We're gonna take that intersection.
And then next year, the plan is to go from Mesker to the bridge next year.
So we're gonna take the existing blacktop off of it and then check the base and make sure the base is okay and then put the blacktop back.
Correct.
Full depth, 5 inches.
Okay? Any other question, gentlemen? Nate, you have any question?
Nope, nothing.
All right, policy discussion, yes,
I'll be brief.
I'm sorry. Why not, you're not in the agenda, why?
Jay's lost up
We're
there.
on number 13 now, still under staff reports.
So busy week, or excuse me.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
All right, I'm easily forgettable.
No, that's not it. You're not on the agenda, that's all.
Busy month again for our operators for locates and work orders again. We did wrap up our flushing operations for our water main. As some businesses are coming on board here, we've had to make some tweaks to some of our sequencing. You know, case in point was Tommy Wash. Our guys had to kind of tweak some things just to make sure they weren't having to shut down their operations. We have some other areas where, you know, upgrades to some hydrants and some future looping will probably alleviate some of the other concerns with some other businesses as well. So it's just kind of a living thing we got to kind of tweak every year. For some reason, there was a lot of chemical feed leaks this past month that the guys been working on. We got our summer help Dan doing a lot of hydrant maintenance around the village. We wrapped up all of our lift station cleaning. I think we got them done end of last week. So now we can start on our sewer jetting. I think we're gonna get out there starting tomorrow, start jetting all the sewers. I guess not all of them, just this year's portion of it.
How many miles?
It's about 33. We do about a third of the system every year.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as some of the miscellaneous stuff, you know, we entered all our DNR data. The guys were out today looking at the Everest Tower. We got to do some upgrades based on our DNR sanitary survey. Working on one of the overflow spouts on our Everest Tower. We're starting to kind of dig into our emergency response plan that's kind of due end of the year here. I mentioned our lift stations are getting wrapped up. We did have the village compliance maintenance annual report was approved at the last board meeting. Putting together some areas for our summer help to take a peek at some of the hydrant painting. We had a request for Newport to get repainted on their hydrants. So we got all the main roads basically repainted last year. We're trying to find some pockets that we can get some hydrants painted this year.
Who's painting it?
We had Ferguson do last year.
Okay,
I think they've done the last couple rounds that we've had painting done.
so there's not a fellow we hire to do it,
We hire, yeah.
not the kids.
No, they don't have paintbrushes and stuff, no.
Okay,
I have a few proposals in for some of our manhole rehabs that I'm gonna be reviewing here hopefully this week. And then we have some sewer lining areas that we're looking at to hopefully get out in the next week or so as well, before the year gets away from us. Michael touched on most of the contract side of stuff. We do still have our Cary well investigation ongoing. We have a 6-month sampling event coming up on Wednesday. And then I guess it just takes us to some of the customers added for the last month and our kind of water and sewer data. That's about it.
is that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Any question from the staff? No question. Okay, can I move on to the next?
Now we're good.
Very good, thank you.
Do you have the final agenda?
Yes. Item 14, recommendation to award Apache Lane construction contract. Let's talk about this. Why so much different? $1 million different from the lowest bidder to the highest bidder? No,
Yeah,
actually more than $1 million, $1.5 million.
Yep.
And then from the lowest bidder to second bidder, $987,000, something like that. They point out some item in the contract which they said it was high. It still doesn't add up to $1 million any place.
yeah. I mean, the main part, you know, just looking at it is Advanced Construction does their own boring, so the river portion. So if you look at the directional drilling, you know, Advance's cost was, for the water main, is $427,000. Both Peterson and Earth Inc. were, you know, over $1 million. One was 1.1 million, one was just under 1.1 million. So that's about a $600,000 difference right there. And then similarly with the force main, again, Advance was at about $250,000 and the other two were at, about 600,000, so. That's another 350,000.
What's the engineering estimate on the project? I didn't find it, I'll look for it, I didn't see it.
Yeah, theirs was, I think they had it actually about 2.5 million,
Where?
so. I guess they got their number after we put all of ours together as far as our borrowing goes, but
Even this number is, one is 2.245 and the other two are 3.1 and 3.5.
Yep.
But these numbers are different. Isn't it? And what they showing on the bid tab? Here,
so there's a couple different alternates,
oh, okay,
3.5, 3.1, and then we had different alternates to see if pipe material made a difference. So this alternate was to use the ductile iron water main, so, for Advance to use ductile iron water main under the river, it would have added $400,000. And James Peterson obviously didn't think that was even an option, so they threw some crazy number at it, and it was an additional $5 million if we were to go with that one. And
ductile iron?
yeah, I think they put a number in there so high that we wouldn't even suggest we go with that. And Earth Inc. chose not to even put an alternate price on it. And then for a PVC water main, it was similar, so I guess the thought initially was if maybe perhaps, material prices or pipe prices could be a deciding factor, so we put different options in there for them to bid different material types, but the HDPE seemed to be the lesser cost, the more economical pipe material to be used for both the force main and the water main underneath the river.
Keith, do you remember how much we paid for a flood river crossing?
Oh, that's going back almost 20 years ago.
No,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah.
I think that was in like 99, 98.
That was ductile iron, and that was installed just cutting a trench in the riverbed, and,
Right, yeah,
this is a different construction method altogether.
sure.
Yeah, this is also gold. It's like 1,500 linear feet, 1,700 linear feet, so it's, there's a lot of wetlands and other, besides just the river crossing, a lot of it is wetland crossing on the south side too.
Right, yeah, yeah. Okay. I'll accept the motion for that.
Before we go on the motion, I just want to ask that, so you're comfortable with their number?
Yeah, we followed up with them. They've done work for the city of Oshkosh, Appleton,
And that was my follow-up question, have they worked through it before?
yeah, so,
I mean, do they know how big of a gap there is?
yeah, they, and that was their justification was, well, we do it in-house. Somebody, these guys are probably asking another contractor to do it.
All the DNR approved is
I
done
mean,
Yeah,
for crossing.
correct.
I mean, I would just say, having been in construction for more than 20 years, I saw that and shook my head and said, no way.
Yeah.
Somebody missed something bad. Because you can't be that different. You just can't. At least that's my gut.
Yeah,
I just said, are we awarding a contract to somebody that's going to realize very quickly they're way underwater and then they're gonna be looking for every way to cut a corner?
Sure.
That's.
yeah. No, like I said, we followed up, made sure that, yes, they have that experience, they had a
Did you, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, did you follow up with the person that owns this company or the person that did the project?
It was the owner.
Was?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gonna core it, do we know what size core that he's gonna do?
The bore,
Yeah,
it's the 12-inch water main is what they're boring through there.
we're gonna bore it and push it through
Correct.
at the same time. it's gonna collapse.
Well, I guess I don't know exactly that detail. I just
I
know
hate
they're,
to tell you that, it will collapse. Unless it's rock. Other than that, it's gonna collapse.
yeah, I guess I don't know the specific details of their construction method.
Okay.
Our engineer, our Clark Dietz, the engineering firm we hired, followed up with them. They had a 4,000 some linear foot bore in the Fox cities, last year that they were successfully did.
Yeah.
So,
That's the only way that it will, unless they have they're doing something different where they can come out that much better.
yeah,
Anytime we had project like this, it did collapse. We had the same discussion. Business 51 did collapse. And it collapsed.
What are you saying, collapsed or flexed?
Collapse. If it is the sand, it will. If it's the clay, it might hold up. If it is the rock, it's gonna hold up,
Is it the same?
but he can't bore it
Know what the-
unless you
what
drill it.
the issue is on this?
yeah, I mean, there's, I guess, yeah, it is.
Well, that's his problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
That's his problem. You gotta get crossed, you gotta get crossed. But at least, what I have seen in the past, we had this problem around this area.
sure.
Any other question? You have a question?
No.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to award the contract. Go bring the number up, please. I think it's 2,000,000.
45.
Yes. You're not sure? Is there more question? We can talk about it. Oh, I had all these questions. I mean, I've read these things. I went over it and I decided to call Michael. I said, no, not to bother him. We talk about it at the meeting so everybody can see the
I
point.
mean, and that was my biggest thing first initially too, so Tanya Westfall with Clark Dietz called the owner of the company, called the other municipalities and make sure that it was, we're a legitimate firm that has experience and, is capable of successful projects and everything came back of, yes, he says,
I review a project in California for Michael because they did a boring. And it was a huge project and they were asking for extra money and they weren't paying, but they have all kind of reason to get paid extra. Which I had a problem, but anyway.
Sure.
And I guess
Well, we have to award the contract, if that's
that's the number, right?
that's the number, and they're gonna provide us with the performance bond, payment bond, and the insurance, and so, I think,
Sure. Okay, I'll make a motion, or I'll move that we recommend awarding the Apache Land Utilities and River Crossing Project Construction Contract to Advanced Construction Inc. for a bid price of $2,245,039.60.
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nate. Yep. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Recommendation to approve construction change order number 2 for a Crestwood Acre
so.
reconstruction project.
Yep, so this change order, is for the drain tile connections to the, storm structures. The 4-inch under drain unit price, which is the same as, I guess the 6-inch that was in there. And then also the, geotextile map, or mat, fabric, the EPS, for excavation, extra excavation, and then the sand fill placement. I guess during the Rodney Street construction, there seemed to be quite a few springs, just wet spots in the road. So, in other areas of the village, we've used that where we've undercut the subgrade extra, put in sand lift, drain tile that seems to dry out the sub base so that then you can build the road on top of it. And otherwise, the fear is this road would probably not dry out for quite some time and stay kind of a slippery mess with
Where are they connecting it?
the drain tile.
Right.
To the storm sewer.
Okay. What's the total?
59,573.
Big number.
Yeah, I mean, it's for all the different components, so the drain tile numbers, I mean, that's based on one for every property. We may not use one for every property, but,
So we get credit if it's.
yeah, so it's just a unit price number, so we're approving the $125 per connection. So, there's only 50 connections instead of 73, it's, the 5,000, whatever number instead of the 10,000. I guess it's probably not quite right, but, same thing with the extra excavation and the fabric, it's all based on the unit price costs.
Okay. Question?
This is just planning commission.
I'm gonna bring it up, I was gonna bring these things up last time, I didn't do it. If there is a change order and engineer forget about it, to put in part of a contract. I'm gonna make an assumption, if he had it, we have to pay for it. But we like to pay actual costs. Change order is always have 15, 20, 25% over in there. So we like to pay the cost.
Yeah.
Extra cost.
Yeah,
Engineer can pay the extra cost,
Yeah.
because he caused that. Just keep in mind.
no, and we asked Switlick for the breakdown of, how did you get, $11 a yard for this, They say, well, it costs a truck is, I forget what it was, $60 an hour. And you can put so many yards in the truck and then we have to drive it, 20 minutes to dump it and then come back, so.
Well, you can call wherever
Yeah.
they're getting it, and they give us a price, and then,
Yeah, I mean, we're providing the sand as the village, so we know that's free. But, when I look at these unit prices compared to even the Apache Lane, on Apache Lane, we're providing the base course material. And there the bid prices were like $20 to $30 cubic yard for the base. Here it's $11, so I think that's a pretty good number.
okay, I'll accept the motion on approving change order number 2.
I move to recommend the village board approve change order number 2 as presented for the increase in contract price of $59,573.
To second.
Can I just interject one thing?
Let's get the second, please.
Okay, sorry.
Please. Do I have a second?
Second.
Question?
Should we put a maximum in front of,
I mean,
or is it not necessary?
it's all based on the unit price, so, I guess that's the hard part is, it's an estimated quantity, say for the fabric of 3,360 square yards. If it happens to be 3,362 square yards, I guess we pay the extra $1.80 for those 2 square yards, but if it ends up being less, we pay less, so.
Yeah, it's a unit price, doesn't matter
Okay.
like that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 16. Recommendation to approve design change order number 1 for Crestwood Acres construction project.
So
Michael?
with the, as the project was originally laid out with the sidewalk on both sides of the road, now, some of you may remember during the special assessment meetings, we talked about how Douglas Lane, as it currently sits, is skewed within the right of way.
Right, yep.
So the roadway was designed centered in the right of way with the sidewalk on both sides. So now with the sidewalk being removed, we can look at realigning that road so it's closer to existing. I guess here's maybe the biggest reasons for doing that is on the south side right now. This is the current ditch. If the road were to be put in centered, the ditch is over here, so that's almost, 15 feet off of where the ditch is. And then on, this is one where I mentioned the potential use of curb and gutter. Water coming off the road on the north side, instead of being up here where we have a ditch, it's down here where it's kind of a straight shot down into those yards. So I guess the ask is to realign that road further, shift it further south so it more mimics exactly closer to where it is existing versus trying to center it.
So if you put a curb and gutter, you put the storm in there also?
Yeah, so there's storm sewer already, so yeah, we
Right, you have-
direct it down to Rodney Street and tie it into the storm sewer there. Correct.
And how much is change order?
3,900 to update the plans, cross sections and
That's for the
electronic.
design.
That's for the design.
What's the construction cost?
I think it might even be less. Like I said, it's a unit price contract, so it should be less fill, it should be less,
220,000? How much was the sidewalk?
removing the sidewalk was, I think 225,000. Yeah,
I'm guessing there will be some cost savings because you're not building a road where there isn't currently
Yeah.
a road, and you're building it more in line with where it currently
yeah,
is.
so it'll be less filled,
So we're gonna get that change order after design is done.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if there's even there shouldn't necessarily be a construction change order because the water sewer, storm sewer lines are still staying where they are. It's just, like we said, there'll be less cut of the road, so it actually,
You have to have a change order to take the sidewalk off of the project.
that's true, yeah. So I mean, we'll,
So you need that change order with the cost in there. Then you need another change order for redesign, for his redesign, for more, for the road and your curb and gutter.
yeah, I mean, we can lump that out.
Well, in order to keep your booking
Yeah, so I mean,
correctly,
yeah.
that's what you gotta do.
yeah, at the end, we would have a correction change order at the end to remove the quantity of sidewalk.
Okay?
I'm sure you've had many conversations with the residents that live near this intersection.
Yeah.
Over since this project started. Are they more in favor of this
Yes.
plan to keep it more where it is now?
Yeah, the initial ask was if we're sticking with the sidewalk, staff was directed to even start trying to negotiate with some of the property owners on the south side to purchase additional right of way so that we still could do that. So with the removal of the sidewalk, we're able to, I think, still accomplish that without purchasing additional property.
Okay? At this point, I accept the motion to approve the change order to the engineer for $3,900 to redesign the road.
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 17, recommendation on approved material testing contract for municipal center.
So, proposals were sent out to 4 firms that do this type of work. Received back 2 complete, proposals. One firm said their office is too far away, so they weren't even gonna provide one. And then we got one from MyTech, but they were only able to do a very small portion of the necessary task, so it deemed that one to be incomplete. So the recommendation is to go with American Engineering and Testing for $33,095 since they are able to perform all the services requested.
So they're not gonna charge us the room and board and lunch and
No.
what about mileage?
Nope, no mileage either.
No
That,
mileage.
that was in the proposal since they're right there. They,
About a mile away from us.
Yeah.
practically, Yes,
I think that played into them being the low cost too.
yes. Okay, what's your wishes?
I'll make a motion to recommend the village board award the materials testing contract to American Engineering Testing for the municipal center construction project on the $33,095.
I second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it, thank you. Item 18, discussion on capital improvement plan, future project list. What would you like to talk about? You like your list, the way you got them.
Yeah, I guess, so I just laid it out, just, you know, we're kind of 2 years into this plan that started in 2020. You know, we got several projects, you know, listed in 22, 23, and 24. And then, I guess some of these other projects then that would fill in that, you know, year 25, 26 gap, so it's just curious if there's any other projects the committee had in mind or want to look at rearranging any of these.
I do.
Maybe take a
Where is
look
our-
at it, bring it back to another meeting.
We can talk about it. The water plan,
Oh, okay, so these are just street projects, and I
Right.
figured next meeting I'd touch on the utility projects. And probably fleet, and then so by, you know, September, we would have the full picture.
okay.
Figured it'd be
So
easier to
you're
look
gonna
at this.
combine them eventually. It's
Eventually it'll be
utility.
all combined, yeah,
They got combined one project.
Yeah.
Okay, then we talk about it more next meeting.
sure.
Okay. What's that? Schoonover Road?
Schoonover, I think,
Schoonover?
sure.
Allen Lane Utility Extension Inquiry? What's that?
Yeah, so we had a resident at the intersection essentially of Schoonover and Ross Avenue contact us about the possibility of getting served with municipal water and sewer service. Or I guess primarily municipal water. They're having issues with their well. So I guess before I either told them yes or no, kind of won't do that. Figured see what the committee's thoughts on, you know, potentially providing service to that property would be. You know, option one would be a full, you know, utility extension, water main looping project that would serve all of these properties. I believe it's about a little over a dozen, maybe 15.
Yep.
In between Sandy Lane, zoom out just a little bit more, and coming up Allen Lane here, which turns into Schoonover. So that'd be the big project. And there's, I guess, two smaller options, one of just connecting on Sandy Lane here, running water and sewer on the north side of Ross Avenue, bringing it up. Or the third option of just going straight to River Pines Court, or River Pines Terrace and, yeah, River Pines Court. You know, it's a lot more in the pavement, disruption. I guess the other option is if, we weren't looking at requiring sewer and we would allow just a water connection. You know, I guess just connecting here, the 475 feet would probably be the cheapest solution. But if we did want to make water and sewer, you know, a package deal, I guess that we could look at putting estimates together or, you know, send out a survey to the rest of the neighborhood, see if anybody else is having issues with the systems.
There's a couple of issues. I understand you just give him the water, his sewer system gonna fail sooner than later.
Yeah.
Just because of the water pressure, he's getting at that, what is it, 60 or 90 PSI, and the existing water pressure is maybe 20, 30 PSI or
Yeah.
maybe. So I'm not sure, but I see Mr. Donald not agree with me.
Well,
Go ahead.
by the time it goes to the sewer system, it's gonna be the same pressure Other than maybe they're gonna get a little more volume over time, I suppose.
Well, that's it, that more volume he's getting it, he's gonna fail his system sooner than later. So, I like your idea of sending a letter out to all the neighborhood and ask them, see if there's interest in there and get on with the project and have everybody on board.
So I guess then if I send a survey letter out, or just kind of try to get people's opinions, if I use the, well, I guess we approved it, so I'd use maybe similar language to what we sent initially for on Apache Lane. Just
Any other idea?
I like that idea.
I'd be happy to know like how many people are interested. If everybody's like, yeah, I wanna connect, then we may as well do that, but
Yeah.
if nobody wants to, then.
I think they'll put them at the bottom, whether yes or no.
Yeah, and have sent feedback, yeah.
Yes.
If you don't send it back to me, I'm assuming yes, you do.
Yes, that, well, yeah.
Do you need a motion for that or anything?
I mean, if you want to say, yeah, you recommend,
I
I
don't need
know
to
a
say
survey
anything.
letter. All right,
Okay, you're good?
that works for me, yeah.
All right, future item, next meeting, Monday, August 9th, 2021 at 4:30 PM. Monday, September 13th, 2021 at 4:30 PM. We don't have any topic, well, we do have a topic for future meeting, which is that
Capital plan.
utility project and.
Yep.
Okay. Item 22, remark from administrator, Mr. Donner.
Nothing to add.
Okay, remark from staff. Josh,
Good,
you sure?
yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Michael,
Nothing to add, no?
remark from committee member.
Nothing from me, nothing.
Nate,
Nothing.
there's no announcement, accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I have it, this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.